the public service industry, it can be quite stressful. Often our customers, and for example hospitals, are the patients or the friends and family of the patients. Their intensity of anger can raise quite high when they just don't know what's going on. They're already highly stressed, they're worried, they're concerned about their loved ones. So how can we help other people bring down their stress levels? Well, I've got two sentences that I want to share with you today that have been absolutely instrumental, not just when I've been doing development programs, but in my whole life. So the first thing is, when someone is highly agitated, their intensity is quite high on the anger line, their stress levels have gone past to vulnerable to overwhelmed, the sympathetic nervous system is kicking in, and they can be quite aggressive. When that's happening, we need to try and bring them down. We need to bring their brain to that logic sense of reason. So to do that, the very first sentence I'm going to share with you is this: how can I help? It's the same as the mindset that we put, how can I help mindset. But if you verbalize that sentence, if you said to somebody and they look as if they're about to break into a fight, excuse me, how can I help? And then somebody's going to get their attention. Aggressive behavior is going to be focused towards you. This is when you can allow them to start verbalizing. They're going to be saying some things that might not make sense to you. But if you listen intently, and then at the end of their rant, at the end of the time, this is the second sentence. What can I do to make the situation better for you? So let me just recap those two sentences. If you remember these two sentences, it'll help you for the rest of your lives. The first one is, how can I help? Once you have their attention, you can then verbalize the second one. What can I do to make the situation better for you? The next part we should probably discuss is the empathy. And empathy, if you'll notice from the map, is actually split into two levels. There is empathy for self and empathy for others. And what you'll notice is, particularly with people in the service industry, they have very high empathy for others, and it can often be at the detriment to empathy for themselves. There may be occasions where you're finding yourself not really connecting with others, either a patient or even somebody like your colleague. You may find that your empathy levels could be indifferent, unconcerned, and insensitive. So what we can do is try and increase those empathy levels. We just have to start at the very first foundation of empathy, which is consideration. We simply have to consider, how are they feeling, and try to walk in their shoes. How is it that they must be feeling in this particular moment, and what can we do to support them better? Very often we get it wrong when it comes to things we verbalize or the sentences we use to demonstrate empathy. We try things like saying, oh, I feel very sorry for you, but that's sympathy. Sometimes we try to fix things by telling them what else that they could do. Sometimes we even tell stories or give one-upmanships of how we dealt with a particular situation. If you truly want to empathize, sometimes it's as simple as saying, I really appreciate you sharing that. It sounded like it was very difficult. As a teaching hospital, it's probably going to be quite pertinent that I explain how the emotional intelligence mapping concept can work in teaching moments or whether you're going to lectures. The relevance line. This is the line that starts over here, and it helps you understand how you are feeling. If you can qualify how you're feeling, you have an opportunity to do something about it. Have Have you ever noticed at a lecture, sometimes you might be feeling really frustrated, but it doesn't automatically get there. First of all, you have to be distracted. Then you go to bored. Then perhaps you get to frustrated, and then you get to lost. Now, frustration, it can then start connecting to the anger line and misbehavior. If you think of children at school, they get bored, they get distracted, frustrated, and then they start doing negative outbursts because that's where they want to try and demonstrate and show their frustration. Sometimes a student can go from bored, distracted, frustrated, and end up being lost. This is think about the person that's at the back of the room, nobody's really paying attention to them, and they end up becoming quite sad. It comes onto the happiness line where they feel lost and they go into neglect. This is something that we've got to try to avoid. So what can we do? Once we've understood our feelings and they're on the negative side of the relevance line, it's very simple. We have a choice. We jump to pragmatism, we choose our mood. And the very first thing is the first building block on the relevance line is curiosity. Simply asking a question, trying to engage the audience, and that's the way to try and take that relevance line. Their feelings can move up from curiosity, then they have interest, and then belief, and it escalates up. So in summary, what I'd like to do is just to share something from me to you. Every decision we make, even the most logical of ones, is based on our emotions. It only makes sense, therefore, that we should be enhancing our emotional literacy to become better decision makers, better motivators, better connectors. But most of all, you're in the public service sector. It means that you have very high emotions and people really do rely on us. It's a calling, it's a noble goal that you have. It's inspiring. So if you do one thing, it's just keep inspiring.